when he asked his name. He said Ayah, which is Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey, Asher, which is Aleph, Shin, Resh, and then Ayah again. It's translated, I am that I am, or I will be what I will be. But that's not Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. It's not a 5, that's supposed to be a Hey. That's not Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, that's Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey. But it's translated, I am. So if somebody says, well, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey means I am, no, it doesn't. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey means something else. But yet if you look at the translations, if you look in the Tanakh, every time the word Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey is spelled, they'll tell you it's written in English, Hashem. Well, this letter is pronounced Ha, and this letter is pronounced Ha, but there's no Mem and there's no Shin. This can't be pronounced Hashem. As a matter of fact, Hashem simply means Ha, that's letter Hey, means the, and Shem, Shin Mem, means name. It means the name. Hashem is simply the name. Adonai is actually spelled Aleph, like an A, Dalet, D sound, Vav, which would be the O sound, Nun, Adon, and then at the Yod at the end, Adonai. This means my, and an Adon is a Lord. So the word Adonai literally is translated as my Lord. However, they'll tell you that this is the way, when you read this word, it's pronounced Adonai. But it's not spelled Adonai. Why? Because there is you might say an injunction, a rabbinical decree. From what I understand, it's a death curse that anyone who mentions this name should be put to death. And from what I understand, it still stands. From what I also understand is that when Yeshua was put to death 2,000 years ago, it was not because he claimed to be God, nor because he claimed to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, but it was because he mentioned that name properly phonetically uttered. Because from what I understand, the law is, the rabbinical law, that anybody who mentions that name in the hearing of the high priest tears his clothes, and once they were torn, they can't wear them again, so he apparently lost his office at that point, saying, all right, that's it. Tears his clothes, that man is condemned to be stoned and hung on a tree, which is exactly what they did to Yeshua. They beat him, whipped him, hung him on a tree. That's the legal mandate for that crime of mentioning that word. But it's not pronounced Adonai, nor is it pronounced Hashem. Anyway, so you go back and say, but what of these colors? Well, if the color of the blue tzitzit thread, if Yahweh said, you will look at these fringes and you will remember that I told you what to do, then the blue color, in my thinking, speaks of the Creator. He says, these are my commandments, and when you look at the tzitzit, you will remember my words. I'm the Creator. I call the shots. I say what's so. When you look at this, you will remember that I am the Creator. I made this stuff up. I invented it. I sustain it. I maintain it. I say that it will endure forever. And when you look at this, you will remember, and you'll do it. Because he told them to do that right after the event where he said, don't work on the Sabbath day, on the Shabbat. One man picked up with a high-handed disregard, like this, gathered sticks, they caught him, they brought him back. What do we do with him? They asked Yahweh what to do, and he said, stone him, put to death. Then he gave them this. He said, tie for yourself these fringes. When you look at them, you will remember to keep my words, and so you will live and not die. So something about the blue speaks of the authority of the Creator. Also, when Moshe and the 70 elders went up to Mount Sinai, and they beheld the throne room of the Almighty, it says there was a work like sapphire pavement or brickwork, sapphire inlaid tile, as it were, on the floor of the throne room. Well, sapphire can be different colors, but is generally regarded as a blue color. So it's my understanding also that someone told me once, well, why do the cops wear blue? Well, blue is a symbol of authority. So if blue is a symbol of authority, and the Creator has it as his floor, and it has to do with the expanse of his domain, then there's something, in my thinking, about the blue being the yod, the hand of the Creator, the authority of the Creator, the work of the Creator is the color blue. Purple, the royal decrees. What are royal decrees? Laws, statutes, ordinances, commandments, protocols. This is what you do, this is what you don't do. This is what belongs in the kingdom, this is what doesn't belong in the kingdom. So what's the first thing you do when you come into the gate? Is there any stipulation in Christology or anywhere else that says you must clean yourself and conform to the standards of the kingdom before you step in the door? No. You come as a lost, penitent sinner who comes to the cross, gets permission to enter, comes into the kingdom. Do you know your way? No. Do you know what you're supposed to do? No. You come as a lost, forsaken, but penitent, wayward sinner. One who is in the darkness, who sees the light, chooses to come to the light. That's all that's going on out here. Once you come into the kingdom, now you have a whole different frame of reference. When you're on this side of the het, you're in the darkness. All you see outside the fence is this one that was put to death, whether it's the red heifer, whether it's Yeshua on the cross. When you're the man in the darkness and you're being oppressed by the slavery, by the servitude, by the oppression, by the misery, and you see this beacon of hope, when you see that there's a chance for an alternative, when you see as it were, the fence in the darkness, and you say, I choose to go there. I want to go to that place of refuge. When you go to that place of refuge, that's all you're responsible for on the outside is that choice to go from the darkness to the light. Moshe said, I put before you life and death, blessing and cursing. I encourage you, choose life. Outside, to acknowledge the Zion, the one put to death, whether it's on the cross or the red heifer, it's the vehicle of entering the kingdom of life as the contrast to the kingdom of darkness and death. Upon entering the kingdom, the first thing you do is cough. Cough up the hairballs, as it were. Filter through, process. Now you have to take off everything that does not belong in the kingdom and take on everything that is in the kingdom. Lamed. The word lamed in Hebrew means teaching and learning. It's shaped like this turnaround. It's repetition. Again and again, going over it and over it. Pushing, pulling. It's the shepherd's staff. It's the guide. It's the oracles of the kingdom. It's the processes of the kingdom. You step in the kingdom door not knowing, but simply choosing. Choosing life rather than death. A distinction made, like light and dark. Now it's time to separate, as it were, water from water. Well, this is the stuff I used to drink. You don't drink it in here. Well, this is the stuff I used to bathe in. You don't bathe in it in here. This is the stuff that used to give me life. Not anymore. A distinction is made. You have to filter, as it were. You have to butcher that animal, which is your own being. You see, the Jews think of the goyim, as it were, the non-Jews, the non-Israelites, as animals. As a matter of fact, if you look at high school and college teams, and even professional sports teams, quite often there's an animal as an icon of their mascot. We like being thought of as animals. Various different tribes have animals as their mascots. We think that animal characteristics are better than human. But if you read the account of creation, man was at the pinnacle, the epitome, the top of creation. To be a man is the top. To be animalistic is less than. But we've got things turned around. So to us, we take on these animal characteristics. The goyim we're seeing people as animalistic. So when Peter had that vision of this sheep being brought down full of animals and told to kill and eat, and he says, not so. Never has any one of those beasts ever entered my mouth, and they're not going to now. Even in this vision, I'm not going to do it. 3 times that happened, and then it went up, and the voice said, what Elohim has made clean, don't you call unclean. Now, Peter did not say, gosh, that means I can now have pork ribs. Now I can have bacon on my cheeseburger. He didn't say that. He said, what in the world does this mean? And then when the Goy, the Gentiles, came to the door, he realized, I should not call these men unclean. I should not call these men we regard as animals as unclean. It had nothing to do with food. It had to do with calling the men animals. The point is, when we come in here, we come in, as it were, an animal to be slaughtered. And the only acceptable parts are retained to finish the rest of the process. Everything else gets burned up on the fire. For us to present ourselves as a living sacrifice is not necessarily in this place, though we've been told in the gospel, take up your cross and follow me, which is one thing here, but to come into the kingdom, it's lay your life on the altar of sacrifice there to eliminate anything that doesn't belong in the kingdom and take on the things that are of the kingdom. You lay it down, kaf, you pick it up, lamed. You teach and learn, lamed. You sacrifice anything which is not part of the kingdom. That's the kaf. Kaf and lamed work together as the altar of sacrifice. Therefore, if we learned, for example, that you can worship God any day, you can go to church any day, but Saturday is the day for fun and sports, and Sunday is the day you should rest, that's what you learned on the outside. You don't know any better on the outside, it's the darkness. But you come into the kingdom, and the first thing you read in the commandments is, you shall not work on the seventh day. And then, I think it was like 150 times, he talks, I think maybe that's the wrong number, but anyway, at least that many times, he talks about how significantly important the Sabbath day is, because it is a sign. The Sabbath day is a sign that you are in this kingdom. Okay, if the Sabbath day is a sign that you are now in this kingdom, and yet you willfully do not take upon you that sign, and you are outside the kingdom, does that mean you're still part of the kingdom? I don't know. It's just a question. If he says, step through the gate, I will seal you, stamp you, brand you, as it were, like a cattle brand, kind of looks like a paleotet, a cattle brand you as mine. Pesach, blood on the doorposts. This house is mine. The doorpost, the sign of the blood, it's mine. I see chet, tet, yod as all being the three letters indicating the door to the Mishkan, the door to the kingdom, the choice to enter between dark and light, taking on the brand, the sign, and knowing that he calls you, he who, the Creator, calls you his very own. And now that he is, you are his own, his hand will start working on you. So you have the tet, this round circle like a potter's wheel spinning, and he says, hop up on there, I'm going to start molding you into my image. What does his image look like? It looks like the kaf, because the kaf is not just a grate, but it's lines. Lines of instruction, like lines of the Torah, like furrows, lines in a field, where the farmer hooks up the ox and starts trudging the lines back and forth, furrowing the field, and then planting seeds in the furrows, and then cultivating the furrows, and weeding and watering, back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. That's the process, like the potter's wheel spinning round and round. So here you have the hand of work and the potter's wheel forming you according to the kaf, the lines of instruction, lamed, that you teach and learn. So kaf and lamed is, get rid of the leavening. Kaf, filter out the leavening, so that lamed, the teaching and instruction of the Torah, will be in your mouth, so that you will do it. Because if you do it, it's life, peace, prosperity, blessing, and abundance. And if you don't do it, according to the kaf, according to the Torah that he gave Moshe on Mount Sinai, it will be your cursing, your undoing, your sickness, your death, your deprivation, your slavery and bondage.